few things today that could drag me away from Mario Kart 8. And One Piece just happened to be one of those things, because I really wanted to see what was going to happen in the battle between Luffy and Don Chinjao. And this week's episode did not disappoint, my friends. It was an action fest to be seen. It was just a big ol' action pinata exploding right in your face, and I loved every second of it. It was also backed by a lot of really cool story progression. We actually got to see what's going on in the seedy underbelly of Dressrosa, and why all these people actually look like toys. We also get to go back to Robin and Usopp. You even get a great scene of Fujitora continuing to rock Law's world with his massive badass meteorites. This was a full package episode of One Piece, my friends, so you should definitely check it out. So let's just talk about some of the key moments and some of my favorite parts. So the battle between Luffy and Don Chinjao isn't anything too spectacular, nothing you haven't seen before. In fact, I think the best thing about this battle is the way that Don Chinjao fights. He fights like a spinning top, or kind of like a break dancer. He spins around on his head, and him and Luffy are basically just constantly charging each other with a flurry of punches and kicks. It's okay for the most part, but it's pretty obvious that their battle really is just getting started, because they keep cutting away to all these other elements this week. But I wasn't turned off by any of this. In fact, I liked the return of that one Vice Admiral by the name of Bastille, mostly because he just looks metal as hell. I love his skull helmet and his flowing red hair. Just put a guitar in his hand, and this guy is like the lead singer of any hair metal group from the 80s. It's so kick-ass. I love this guy. He also has this big, massive cleaver, which I imagine he doesn't use to cut the crusts off of his PB&Js. I imagine they're mostly used for death. Considering that I'm an action junkie, I was really surprised by this one scene this week, which frankly was my favorite part about this week's episode, was when we finally learn about the toy people of Dressrosa. It's pretty obvious from the start that these toy people were originally real people to begin with, and that somehow Doflamingo actually turned them this way, and that's actually true. In this week's episode, there's this really, really creepy scene where there's this toy who apparently was probably just transformed, and he's trying to get to his girlfriend and talk to her, but she's not listening, and then he gets taken away and thrown into this, like, scrap building. But it's one of the most, like, terrifying and disturbing things I've ever seen. It's kind of like watching the scene from Toy Story 3 when all the toys are about to, like, be burned, and you're like, is this really gonna be the end of the movie? Except here, this is the end for this toy. He gets thrown into the darkness, and frankly, it's pretty fucked up. This whole scene just shows that Doflamingo has had such a tight grip over Dressrosa that the entire country is literally divided on those who cannot even remember their loved ones and those who just want to be remembered. The scene here is really effective and probably my favorite part of the episode, like I said. But at the end of the episode, there's a little more action for all of you junkies out there. There's a great scene where Fujitora is hanging out on all of these rocks which are suspended in midair. I'm guessing he's using his weird gravity powers to make that happen. And he keeps summoning more meteorites and making shit explode. It's frickin' Armageddon, except without Bruce Willis and Aerosmith. And at the end of the episode, we go back to the Tontada Kingdom, and we have Usopp, we have Robin, and they are getting swept up into this big battle where they're getting ready to go to the factory and save their comrades. It's straight out of an Ewok adventure, and it's awesome. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of One Piece? I liked this one a lot. There were some parts where it was a little slow, especially at the beginning of the episode where Don Chinjao was constantly shifting between being really badass and then crying like a little bitch. But for the most part, their battle afterwards was really awesome with all of the punches and cool moves with him spinning around in the scene where Luffy slams him into the battle arena. It's really, really great and it's well done. Especially the scene later on when you see Law and Fujitora. All that was animated really, really well and looked great. Especially with Law running through the forest and of course Fujitora just hanging out on all of those rocks, which looked really good. The story progression was also incredible this week. I loved all of the stuff with the toy people. I'm really glad that they finally went back to that because I'm really interested in that. And it's creepy. That scene was really, really effective. It's not too often that I see a scene like that in One Piece with, like, the side characters and someone we'll never really even see again. And I'm like, oh my god, Doflamingo's such an asshole. We have got to take his weird, like, feathery boa thing and shove it up his ass. Screw that guy. The animation this week was also really good. The voice acting, of course, as always, was boisterous and hilarious. All the colors this week really popped as they always do. This was just a full package episode of One Piece with a little bit of slowness in the beginning. So for me, this was a 9 out of 10. Check out this week's episode. It was really exciting, and you get to get a little more insight, and of course, tons of One Piece action. You gotta love it, guys. Check it out. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you saw this week's episode of One Piece, and if you did, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, and you can tell me with your comments below. Did you have any favorite moments? What do you think of the battle between Luffy and Don Chinjao? And what do you think is going to happen in the rest of the Dressrosa arc? Do you have any theories? Let me know with your comments. Remember, guys, before you leave, hit that like button so you can give this video a thumbs up. It's really easy to do, and it helps out our videos tremendously. You can also help out our page by subscribing so you can see all of our anime and manga reviews, like the brand new JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders, the manliest anime series of the season. Check it out if you've missed it. It is awesome. Remember, you can also check us out on Facebook and on Twitter. I'll put links to those in the description box below. So, guys, I will see you next time. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.